So I thought we could have a cozy chat about world building and fantasy maps while I paint the fantasy maps for Buckwild that I've been working on for quite some time. For those who are wondering, Buckwild is an area in Eastern Farraway where Hunter's Full Moon Trilogy takes place, which is a series of 3 5e adventures and the start of a full campaign that I've written together with my partner Eric. It is a forest area with plenty of wildlife, but it's also the home of both dangerous beasts and monsters. When it comes to creating a fictional world for a fantasy novel or a role-playing campaign, I think it's good to start small. You can either start large and begin by describing the full world around you and then zoom in to a continent or an area where you want to start your adventures or your book. But I find that can be a little bit daunting, so I like to go the other way around. I'll start small and I'll build my world from there. There are a couple of things that I think is very important to consider when it comes to fantasy world building. The first one is magic, the second one is technical advancement, and the third one is history and geology. When it comes to magic, you have to decide how common it is in your world and how it would affect the world. So, for example, if magic is very common and it's possible to simply conjure food, then no one would become farmers. Think about how magic can change the world as well. For example, very powerful spells could destroy armies, even shift mountains. In Eastern Farraway, magic is quite rare. There are magic schools and some people are born with magic, but it's still uncommon and it's not used in every day-to-day life. High-level wizards and clerics are very uncommon, and there is only a handful of people in the realm that can cast level 3 spells and above. The second thing that I think is important to consider regarding world buildings is technical advancement. In our history, inventions such as gunpowder and heavy crossbows meant the end of castle buildings and knights in heavy armor. In Eastern Farraway, technical advancement is always moving forward, but it is a 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards progress. There are alchemy, and especially gnomes are quite fond of tinkering and inventing things. However, a lot of their inventions are not entirely stable, which means that real technical progress doesn't occur, mainly because they're quite bad at math, or it occurs very slowly. A third thing that I would suggest is to have a look at real maps and maybe even study some history and geology. If you, for example, are going to create a town, who lived there originally? Has the town expanded and who's in charge? Some towns are created in a neat and tidy way, a little bit like New York, for example, while others tend to gradually grow in a more organic way. Also consider the people who live there and how their architecture would affect the area. For example, Winterhold, which is a town north of Buckwild, was originally built as a dwarven stronghold with hexagonal buildings, and it is partly located inside a cavern. As the town grew, the city walls had to move, and even now there are houses and farms outside the walls as the town continued to expand. They've also started building the houses square and rectangular instead of the traditional hexagon shapes. When it comes to geology, you don't need to become an expert in the subject, but your world is going to be much more believable if it follows scientific rules. Then again, if you have a world where magic exists, it can also be completely okay to break all of the rules, but it's nice when there is a logical explanation behind what's going on. This is the final version of the fantasy map of Buckwild. This is actually my second watercolor fantasy map that I've ever done in my entire life. And although it might not be perfect, I'm honestly very pleased with the results. If you have any questions or would like to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, always stay creative.